Pick Studio, this is Shaggy.
Shaggy, how are you? This is Michael Sweet.
Michael Sweet, what is going on, brother?
Yeah, I'm just hanging out here, getting ready to do a lobby call and go to the venue. We're performing here in Denver, Colorado tonight.
Right on, getting prepared for Idaho Falls on Wednesday night.
Yeah, we are.
Colonial Theater, Idaho Falls, this Wednesday. Tickets available right now, pickidaho.com. Now, Stryper on their 40th anniversary tour, and one thing that really stuck out to me on this tour is you're doing something pretty cool. 2 sets of music. What does that look like?
Yeah, it's a little different. We come out and we do a set of classic music first. Kind of interesting because it's all about kind of chronological order is my thinking. We start with the Yellow and Black Attack and work our way through Against the Law, and then we do a half-hour break, intermission. Then we come out and we do chronologically a set from 2005 to now.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Now, from my understanding, during that half-hour break, even like the stage setup changes a little bit. Is that correct?
The stage setup does not change. Basically, we go back and we change our clothing. And we change our guitars.
Okay, there you go. So getting more modern.
Yeah, we go a little bit more modern, a little less yellow, a little more black. It definitely changes it up a little bit, but not so much so that we don't look like we're Stryper anymore. You know, it's still Stryper 100%, but the stage set does not change. The drums, the amps, those all stay the same.
Okay, awesome. And speaking of new and fresh, I want to talk about your brand new album, When We Were Kings. First off, killer job. This was a straight up Stryper album through and through. I loved every single track on it.
Well, good. I'm glad, man. I've been getting in some debates with people. Most people seem to agree with you and myself. I think it's our best album to date, certainly in the modern era of Stryper. But, you know, some people still want whatever we had in the 80s. That sound of To Hell with the Devil, and you know that's never going to happen.
Oh, for sure.
It's just never going to happen because we live in a different world now. Technology is advanced. The band has changed. Our influences have changed. I mean, we try to give them bits and pieces of that, and I think we did a really good job of that on this album. For example, When We Were Kings, that's a throwback to 86, 87, 100%.
Oh, definitely. And I found myself in Portland, Oregon, the day the record came out. I went to a local record shop over in Portland and was able to buy it on vinyl. And one thing I noticed, the vinyl edition of When We Were Kings is a little bit different than any other edition.
It is. And not only is it different from, say, CDs and, obviously the digital format when you download that, but every vinyl is different. We have multicolor vinyls. We have black. We have swirl vinyl. We have, I believe, blue vinyl. So there's a lot of different vinyls going around out there as well.
Oh, for sure. I was able to get the yellow and black one. So that's the vinyl that I got. But the 2 tracks that really stuck out to me was Divided by Design and Unforgivable. And it's kind of ironic because on the vinyl version, I don't know if you know this or not, those 2 tracks are flip-flop, whereas the digital version and the CD version, Unforgivable is actually track number 2, but on the vinyl, then it is track number 10, whereas Divided by Design is track number 2.
Right. And the reason why we did that and why we do that, if you go back and look at some of our past albums in recent years, we did the same thing. If you take the CD sequence and you cut it in half, sometimes side A or side B is too long for vinyl. And you don't want it to be over a certain amount of time. Usually that's anywhere from 22 to 24 minutes. You start going over that time frame on either side, and you start degrading the quality of the audio that you're hearing from the vinyl. So we don't want to do that. So we swap songs around to make the sides a little more even in time.
That totally makes sense. See, because I was listening in my car. I had listened to the vinyl first, and I was listening in my car the other day, and I'm like, wait, this isn't the track number 2 that I remember. What's going on here? So that totally makes sense, man. I love that.
And that's why we do that. You know, we want to make sure that we don't compromise the quality. Also, the vinyl is a different master. It's EQ'd differently and printed differently, a little lower level so things don't squash out. And it really affects, if you run vinyl too hot, it really affects the low end. It becomes muddy and it doesn't sound good. So it's all about how good it sounds for us. You got to keep the quality high.
And speaking of albums, last week on UltimateClassicRock.com, there was an article that came out. It was called 20 Famous Rock Albums That Were Banned by Walmart. And surprisingly, Stryper made the list with Goddamn Evil from 2018. What do you recall about that situation?
Yeah, well, I do recall that situation very well. And I felt like it was a little silly because, everybody knows that Stryper is not going to print or sing about anything that is risque or controversial in the sense that it should be banned. I mean, we were just making a statement with Goddamn Evil saying, looking at it as a prayer, asking God to damn evil. So Walmart banned the album. It's true. But yet you could go in Walmart right now and you could see albums that should be banned that aren't.
Well, it was funny reading that article. I mean, they put you on the same list as like Marilyn Manson and different Jane's Addictions albums that had nudity on them and things like that. And it's like, wait a sec, one of these is not like the other.
Not at all like the other. And, but I mean, I guess as they say, all press is good press. I mean, it did make the headlines, and for whatever reason, they decided to ban our album. And it didn't really affect us much because we don't sell a lot of albums through Walmart, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Still at the same time, they chose to not carry it.
On Friday nights, we have a Headbanger show. Shout out to my friend Mike Gobby. And he plays anything from Stryper to Slayer is what we say. And whenever we play a Slayer song, then he gets on there and he's like, man, we got to balance this out with some Stryper. It's funny to me because in 2006, I believe, Stryper was actually set to play a show with Slayer. And for whatever reason, the show didn't end up happening. But with Slayer having, known satanic themes throughout their music, whereas Stryper takes a more positive approach, was there any reluctance in scheduling that show initially that you remember?
No, it's the exact opposite. I was really excited about scheduling it. I couldn't schedule it quick enough.
Great answer.
We had the opportunity, and I said, yeah, do it. Boom, book it. And the way I always look at that is it's an opportunity for us to go and play before a crowd that we've never played to.
Exactly.
And to maybe win some of those people over, maybe win them all over. I've seen it happen time and time again. And we were excited about that. And then what happened was Slayer pulled out.
Oh, bummer.
And then when Slayer pulled out, it made no sense to me to go and do the show because it was kind of defeating the purpose of doing the show. So we pulled out as well.
What could have been? Maybe the stars will align again someday. Slayer is kind of doing some one-off festival dates here and there, coming out of retirement to do those. So who knows? Maybe a Slayer and Stryper show could be in the future.
I bet you if we did a show with Slayer or even a small tour with Slayer, I bet you both bands and both audiences would be very surprised pleasantly. I think it would be fun, and I think it would work in a very odd way, but I think it would work.
I totally agree with you. And I already know you could call it the Heaven and Hell Tour.
And we certainly could. The infamous tour that never happened. We never toured with Motley Crue. We never toured with Wasp. And, we talked about a Heaven and Hell tour, and it just never happened.
Man, well, maybe one day if the stars align. One thing I am interested in, I'm a guitar player, so I'm a bit of a gearhead. A couple brands that yourself and Stryper endorsed that really stuck out to me was Ernie Ball and EVH. So first off, what gauge strings do you use? And second, how did you get involved with Eddie Van Halen's brand?
Oh, man, well, I'm a huge Eddie Van Halen fan. Not just a fan, but he's an inspiration to me as a guitar player, songwriter, producer, and artist. I really admire Eddie, and I always have. And I love the fact that he's a tone chaser like myself. Mm-hmm. And I use Ernie Ball Hybrid 9 through 46. So the high strings are basically 9s. The low strings are basically 10s.
Okay.
And I love the EVH amplification because, there's just a certain raw sound that you get with that. They're all tube. I'm kind of burnt out on the digital thing. I find it very interesting and quite funny how everyone's trying to achieve a tube sound with digital processors.
Yeah. When
you have the real thing sitting right next to you. Just plug into a tube amp. And the best one of the best tube amps to plug into is an EVH. You know?
They're great.
They all sound a little different. I've got the one with 6L6s and the Stealth, and I have the Gold with the EL34s as well, and I love them both.
Now, do you use any EVH distortion pedals or anything?
I don't. I always run the front end. On the front end of any head that I use, I have some Splon heads who also did modifications for Edward. I always run a parametric EQ. Some guys most guys run an overdrive or a distortion, which is fine. You know, I'm not downplaying that. Whatever works for you. But I think you get a lot more control over an EQ. A graphic is cool, but with the parametric, you can fine tune it even more because you can roll out lows, you can roll out highs, you can add mids, or vice versa. And I've always loved the parametric. I started using a Furman PQ3 back in 1980. And there's been no looking back ever since.
That's great advice. Thank you. As like yourself, I'm a guitar player that's always looking for the perfect tone. So that actually helps out quite a bit.
Well, find yourself a really cool parametric EQ. One of my favorites is a Tech 21. They make something called a Q strip. You run that into the front end of a head, you cannot go wrong. It's going to sound killer.
Oh, definitely. Well, thank you for the advice, Michael. I appreciate it. Now, before I let you go, I know you're busy today. I did have one last question. Were you able to catch the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction this past weekend by chance?
You know, I wasn't. I heard about it, though. I heard finally Foreigner was inducted.
About time.
Long overdue. And it was great to see that. And I'm so happy they included Lou Gramm, because without Lou, there'd be no Foreigner.
Yeah.
You know, he built that house. And I always say that about David Lee Roth, too. And I get into debates on David Lee versus Sammy, and people say it was better with Sammy. And I say, well, there'd be no Sammy Van Halen without David Lee Roth.
My thoughts exactly.
And it's like, I don't know what part of that people can't understand. But the same applies for Foreigner. Lou built that house, and it was so great to see him there and be a part of it.
And Peter Frampton, long overdue, getting in there. And we can't forget the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne, getting inducted as a solo artist.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about it. I mean, these guys are legendary. They deserve every bit of it. Peter Frampton, yeah. I mean, you know, he, even though he's not necessarily hard rock or metal, you know, he's iconic, and he changed guitar players' lives and still does to this very day. I hear a little Peter Frampton come out in my playing. Mm-hmm. I'm nowhere near the guitar player, but you know, I'll be doing solo shows and I'll listen back and I'm like, oh man, I hear a little Frampton coming out of it. That's really weird. So it might be subconscious because I grew up listening to Frampton so much, you know?
Oh, I think Frampton Comes Alive is embedded in all of us forever.
Absolutely. And it always will be. It's timeless. You know, if we all left this earth for 1,000 years and came back, we'd still put on a Frampton Comes Alive album and love every second of it.
Oh, no doubt about that. Now, I'm going to say this. When Stryper gets inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, not if, but when, I'm telling you, it's going to happen. Who would induct you? Who would you prefer to induct you into the Hall of Fame?
Oh, man, I would love something really different and controversial, like, you know, Lord willing, if he's here long enough, someone like Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, that'd be killer.
I mean, it would just be different. You know, or Priest, Rob Halford. He's a big, you know, inspiration of mine. But, I mean, never say never, I guess, and I'm not shooting myself in the foot, but I just can't see that ever happening. I mean, you see how hard it is for bands like Foreigner to get inducted.
Sure.
I mean, can you imagine Stryper?
I can imagine it. I can.
Well, I mean, it would be unreal, but, you know, I mean, that would be a miracle. And miracles do happen. But, yeah, it would take a lot to see that happen. But I will say this. I say this as humbly as I possibly can. Why not? We've earned our spot like any other band. Do we have to wait another 10 years? Maybe. Another 20 years? Maybe. But, I mean, we've got gold and platinum albums, and we've broken barriers and broken down walls and accomplished things that have never been accomplished. So why not?
Why not? Why not, Michael Sweet? So fingers crossed it'll happen sometime in the future. Now, before I let you go, of course, we got to mention the show, Idaho Falls, this Wednesday night, Stryper on their 40th anniversary tour. Get your tickets, pickidaho.com. They are going fast. Anything else you want to say, Michael?
Man, yeah, just you nailed it. Stryper tickets, you can get them at the box office or at Stryper.com. Also VIPs. We've been doing a really cool VIP where we play a video for the fans only that come to the VIP, and then we show everyone a sneak peek of our documentary.
Oh, cool.
Then we come out and do a Q&A, and then we play a song that's not in the set for the VIPers only. So it's really cool, man. We've been having a blast.
And I have to say, the most reasonably priced VIP packages I've ever seen.
I think so. You're not going to see any $2,000 VIPs and not even get to meet the band.
Yeah.
You're not going to. No.
Yeah, which is really crappy in my opinion, but that's a subject for another time.
I mean, the thing is, people pay it, but I just, I don't understand that. You know, that how do you have a conscience and feel go to bed at night knowing you just charged someone $2,000 and you didn't even meet them? I don't know. That's a little rough, man. But we always try to keep our VIPs very fairly priced, and you get to see and meet the entire band.
Awesome. So VIP packages and regular tickets, both available. PickIdaho.com, Stryper.com, box office as well. That's this Wednesday, Colonial Theater in Idaho Falls. So make sure you are there. Michael Sweet, thank you so much. If you would like to pick a track from the When We Were Kings album, Stryper's latest album, that you feel really sticks out, I'll play it right now.
Oh, man, let's do something different. Everyone's been playing Love Symphony, End of Days, Betrayed by Love, and When We Were Kings. Why not let's play one of your favorites? Let's play Unforgivable.
That would be my pick exactly. Let's hear it. Michael Sweet, thank you so much for your time, man. Can't wait to see you guys on Wednesday.
All right, brother. God bless. Take care. Thanks for the time.
Hey, right back at you. Thanks, man.
Bye-bye.